Yeah. What planet are we on? That's right. Drinking beers. Getting outrageous on the Pagey train. How many is this your second go at Pagey train?
It's my third, but this is I did one in lockdown remotely.
Oh, okay.
So this is my second time coming to actually record one here in the studio.
Yeah.
The first one, I remember it was a really hot night.
Yeah.
Coming out to Penrith in the middle of summer, it was really hot. And then, yes.
Yeah.
Tonight's a really cold night.
Yeah, it's freezing tonight.
Cold and rainy, yeah.
Yeah. You were in this first season. Season 1,
I know.
Pagey Train.
Well, it's actually...
So much has happened.
So much has happened.
5 years ago.
Yeah, well, but I mean, it's really a joy to be here because Man in the West, Still Searching, believed in my career 7 years ago when I was just starting out, and now I'm here reporting on my time in Cannes. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Well, great. Well, let me just get straight into an intro then.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
And welcome to the Pagey Train. Today I have in the studio with me, Bina, Bhattacharya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ross. It's absolutely incredible to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are a rock star. You have been, you've just been getting high fives all over town.
I'm wearing a leather jacket, so...
That's great. You're doing the leather jacket
I
episode
traded
of the Pagey Train.
my daggy mumsy kind of pink Adidas hoodie for this, yep.
Yeah. But look, you've recently made a film.
I have.
And you're out there trying to... You're in distribution at the moment.
Yeah,
for this
so
film?
I have an Australian distributor, but I'm hoping to find a international sales agent.
Okay.
So that's the point I'm at, an international distribution, which is a whole other field. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So what's this film that you've made? What's it about?
You've seen the film,
Yeah, I have. But
let's tell everyone in Pagey Train
but
land.
for the people for our listeners out there, what's the film about?
It's called From All Sides. It's about a middle-aged, multiracial couple in an open relationship and the lives of them and their teenage children living in outer Western Sydney. I've had it variously described as short bus for brown people, and also, it's like American Beauty but set in Western Sydney and with kind of a multiracial family.
Yeah, okay, it does have now you mentioned that, it does have American Beauty-esque sort of things in it.
Well, when I wouldn't
say overall, though.
No, so it's really interesting. That was... I had all these ideas for feature films. I've been making shorts for a long time, as you know, because Man in the West were some of my first champions back in 2017 with Wild Dancers. Which was the film I'd made.
Still holds water, that film.
I think it does. And I had made this film after a 10-year hiatus. So, I came back, I made Wild Dancers. Man in the West was sort of the first festival that got into and really championed it. And I've been making shorts for years. I was a co-writer on Here Out West, which was a feature film, but that was, I was a writer in a team of 8 and I didn't get to direct. So I was like, I'm getting older. I need to direct my first feature film. And so I would invite anyone to do this. I invited some of my very best, dearest, closest friends to my house, which included Jay Knapp and Chris Eleanor.
Big shout out, Jay. Big shout out, Chris.
Yes. They were, people I trusted
Amazing
and respect.
people.
Amazing people. Beautiful part of this community. And they came around to my house and I had a whiteboard and I was like, all right, team, strategic planning 2021. I'm getting older. I want to make a feature film and I need to make a feature film I can shoot in my own backyard. It needs to be something I can shoot in Campbelltown on weekends on a low budget. And what I thought was, like, a few years ago, I did Showpiece Shorts. I did a bunch of short films designed around actors, and I shot on weekends, and we did one together for June. And it was like, okay, if I can...
I was a cinematographer.
You were the cinematographer. Yeah. It was a great experience. It was a really, really wonderful day. But, I was making these kind of 5-minute shorts that I had written for actors, and you can convince people to work at a reduced rate, like, on a weekend, because they're not having to forgo other work. And, or, actors will happily often give up their Saturday to be in a film.
It is a giving community, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I've made all this content for a few $1,000s. But that year in 2018, I think I made about 40 minutes of content for about $5,000, and it was because I was just shooting on weekends and working around other people's commitments. So I thought, well, what if I scaled that up and I shot 100 minutes or 90 minutes of content for $10,000 or $15,000, and I just put aside one weekend a month until I got this film made. And I thought it needed to be something with a big ensemble cast. So one of my favorite movies, and it's quite similar to American Beauty, but I think it's better. It's a bit darker. It's a bit more Bina taste, is a film called Happiness. Have you ever seen Happiness?
I haven't seen Happiness,
It's
no.
amazing. And it's got about 12 main characters. The movie's about 150 minutes long, so it's a long movie. It's 2.5 hours, but it has kind of about 12 main characters. But if you drill down each of their stories, like Philip Seymour Hoffman has a plot line as, a guy guy who makes obscene phone calls. Do you know? Like, that's his storyline. And if you took that whole storyline and ran it back to back, it would probably be about 15 minutes long. So I thought, yeah, can I do this like big ensemble cast set in Western Sydney, kind of like Magnolia maybe?
And interlacing all of these anecdotal moments.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's the original idea. I kind of thought, why don't I write this story that's kind of my impression of life in Western Sydney, talking about stuff that interests me, so race and sexuality and class, and things that I think are kind of part of Australia's pathology. So tall poppy syndrome is like a big theme, envy, things that I see in
I think
Australia.
that really came through in the subtext of your film for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, because like America does suburban films really well, and I feel like they've never really taken off in Australia. And this is a bigger conversation that I always have about, you know, Australia is really preoccupied with the rural setting. It's really preoccupied with like true crime.
Yeah,
Where it's still, the colonizers gone to people's minds, so I think people have that anyway.
yeah. Well, it's a market thing, right? It's in the history.
For whatever reason
standing.
we don't kind of have this suburban genre. So I sort of thought, let's make that, and I set about to write it. But when I wrote it, number one, I didn't want to do an anthology so that it felt too anthology-ish because I'd just done Here Out West. So I wrote this film that I could shoot, and it was about a family, and I committed to making it however I could with whatever money I could find. I always say, have a plan to make your film at $1 million. You know, $100,000 and $10. Like, have a plan for all three, and then just make it. So, I made this film. And I can't believe if you had told me that I would be taking it to Cannes, I would not have believed you.
Well, let's just dive into that, right?
Yes.
So I've been following you online lately because you've been on an adventure. So from Campbelltown to Cannes.
Correct. That's the headline. Writes itself, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm a Campbelltown boy myself.
I know you're hood as fuck, man. I married into it. You grew up there.
I grew up in the hood in the 90s, man.
Yes.
It was back in the rough days.
It was rough. Yeah.
Some of the graffiti that was done in that decade is still there.
I believe that.
So
100%.
that's
Parts of Campbelltown haven't changed. A lot of it has gentrified. A lot of it has changed. A lot of it hasn't. Yeah.
Oh, it's a massive cross section, Campbelltown.
That's why I think it's very interesting. I like it. Honestly interests me. I like living there. So yes, from Campbelltown to Cannes.
So what's the deal? So how does one get their film to go and get some screen time in Cannes? How do you go and do that?
It's like I say, I would never have believed you if you told me that was going to happen. It was a lot of luck in the end. I had my film at the right stage. The simple answer, I love telling this story because there's a simple answer and there's a long answer. The simple answer is I filled out a form. Right? Okay. The much longer and more interesting answer is my distributor, Dove Cornets, invited me to a film that was playing at Mardi Gras Film Festival called Sahela. Lovely, lovely movie about the queer Indian Australian experience. It was all shot in Parramatta. Has an absolutely amazing shit-hot producer called Tayyab Madni, who you would love because he's a Penrith Panthers supporter.
Okay, yeah. Already a winner.
He's wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful producer. He's an absolutely wonderful filmmaker. Anyway, so I went... so Dove said you should go to Sahela. It's screening at Mardi Gras Film Festival and there's going to be a party afterwards. And I'm going to be really honest, I felt super awkward about going because all my go-tos were busy. Like, my husband was busy with our kids that night. And, you know, all my usual friends were like off seeing other films. And I kind of ended up going by myself and I felt really awkward. But I'm really glad I pushed through because, number one, the film was amazing. Number two, Lisa Rose, the festival director of Queer Screen Mardi Gras Film Festival, gets up to intro the film and she goes, "This is a queer film from Western Sydney. We don't get a lot of queer films from Western Sydney." And then when I saw her in the corridor, I quickly said, "Hey, I got a queer film from Western Sydney feature for you." And she goes, "You know, we take a group of films to Cannes every year." And I'm like, "No, what on earth is this?" So just for a bit of background, the Cannes Film Festival, biggest film festival in the world. It's in the south of France, right?
It's a little bit known, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit known. But there's also the Cannes Market Marché du Film, which runs alongside. So the other thing about Cannes is industry only. So if you live in the south of France and you're a baker, you can't just rock up to a movie at Cannes, right? You need to have like an accreditation. That said, you know, if you have the money, you can go. Like, both of you could go. You could go because you have a film CV. Luke could go because he has a film CV, right? So, but you have to kind of prove that you're not just going for vibes.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So you have to be a film person.
So I'm going to bust out my IMDb and go, yeah, I'm
kind of, yeah. Yeah. So you get your pass. And then you can go to the film market. So where my film was screening was at the film market. It's a program called Goes to Cannes. So they showcase movies that are not quite finished, which is exactly where my film was at the point that I spoke to Lisa. And there's 7 film festivals participating.
Yeah.
And Queer Screen Mardi Gras Film Festival is the only LGBT
Oh,
film
okay.
festival.
So this is like a program where Cannes is like the aggregate, and they've got film festivals that participate in this space
Yes,
and
so-
category of Cannes.
Kind of, yes. So
Yeah.
So there's 7 international participating film festivals. Queer Screen Mardi Gras Film Festival is the only LGBT film festival. They each take 5. So you end up having 35 kind of works in development that get showcased. You get a 3-minute pitch. And you get a 12-minute excerpt of your film. You go into the Cannes database. Obviously, it gives you a lot of legitimacy when you're going. You know, it also means you don't have to kind of set up all the meetings. People come to your room, like Lisa set that all up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my answer. We're really fortunate in Australia. There's actually 2 participating festivals. So there's Mardi Gras and also Adelaide. So if you want to, you know, if you're interested in having the same journey I had, if you have an LGBT film, you can submit to Next Year Goes to Cannes. I'm assuming they'll be invited back.
Okay.
Or, you know, you can move to Adelaide and make your film there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Far out. Okay. So so you get on a plane, you head over to France.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that all like? So you walked the red carpet, that sort of thing, or?
I did. Okay. So there's a lot of steps that were involved. I get the email saying, you know, you've been selected. You're going to, you know, go to Cannes.
Awesome.
Yes. Here's your accreditation. This is how you do your accreditation. It was really stressful. You couldn't F up your accreditation. You had to get it right. I remember. Sorry.
That's okay.
And it was also, for me, it was a big deal. Like my passport had no stamps in it. I have not been overseas since 2019.
Yeah.
Right? Because of COVID. And also I have 2 small children. I have not been away from my kids for more than 4 days. This was 11 days away from my children. There was just a lot of steps. And I will say this, my workload tripled. Like, when you go to Cannes, no one comes to mind your kids. No one came to like do my work at PYT Fairfield, which is the other place I work. You know, and suddenly I was like staying up late, emailing people every night because you get access to their database and you can like look up who's going to be there. So I can look up Studio Canal and go, oh, Rachel from Studio Canal is going to be at Cannes. I'll shoot her an email. And it's not particularly productive, but it's a thing you can do. So I actually got really sick. I was really ill the day I flew out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did 30 hours on a plane. 30
Jeez.
hours in dry air when you are already not feeling great. So
Yeah.
I arrived in Cannes and I was like this and I couldn't talk.
Oh no. No.
Yeah, I
No.
know. And it was really scary. I'm like, how am I going to pitch with like no voice?
Well, did you get your voice back?
I did. I rested. So I thought my first couple of
That's a
days
relief.
weren't that full on. I had a few things, and so I just made sure I did a full 24 hours in bed.
Yeah.
But I was pretty much under the weather the whole time, I will say. Like, my voice came back and I had fun. I had a great time. But, like, the right way, in inverted commas, to do Cannes is, like, you get up at 6:30, you get your tickets, which is a whole other thing. Getting
Yeah.
tickets at Cannes is really, really hard work. You know, you go and you do, like, a panel, and then you watch a movie, and then you do like another networking event, and then you watch another movie, and then you go have dinner, and then you go to an after party, and you finish at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. apparently down the Croisette, which is where the Cannes Film Festival is like packed with like people, you know, who've been
Wow.
partying. I know, and I never did any of that. Like, I was super sensible. I was in bed at a reasonable hour pretty much every night.
Yeah.
But that's apparently the way you're supposed to do Cannes.
Yeah, no. What you're describing, I would definitely monster through that for sure. Yeah. Love to be at a party. Love to chuck a party.
It suits people who are good at schmoozing and good at partying.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, I went to 2 parties, and the first one was a bit lame. I'm not gonna lie. The second one was fun. But yeah,
Yeah, lame parties are great. Like they give contrast to good parties, right?
that's such a good attitude.
Yeah, you still got to go rub shoulders and still hang out with people.
Well, apparently, and that's why people go to, like, it was really interesting because I went to Cannes and I had a really clear purpose, which I was there to present my pitch. I was there to, you know, make connections. I was there to meet with people. That was why I was there. There are people who go to Cannes every year because it's just their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I found that really challenging because that doesn't help anyone but people that are already really rich.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like, and I say this all the time, when I'm in Western Sydney communities, when I'm at PYT Fairfield, I always feel like one of the most privileged people in the room because I've had a lot of privileges in my life. I had a white mother growing up who played good cop to my, you know, Indian dad who played bad cop. You know, my parents were university educated, blah, 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 blah. You know, I've had a lot of privileges. And then I went to Cannes and I'm like, nope, I feel like the poor kid from Western Sydney again because there's so much money. And there's people who go every year and they go for vibes. They're not there to pitch their film. They're there because they have a film they want to make and they're trying to find a sales agent in advance. So just a little bit about distribution. Getting a film up, the big steps are you need to find a distributor and you need to find a sales agent. Once you have those, it gets much easier to finance a film. So people go to Cannes being like, I have this script. and I'm trying to hope I have a corridor conversation with a sales agent,
Yeah,
or
good
meet
luck.
them at a party, or meet them on a
so
yacht.
random, yeah.
I know, but they have that much money that they can go, and no one really questions their legitimacy. It's not like, well, how much money have you actually made in Cannes? There's people who just go for the vibes.
Well, there's a big thing for that, right? So if you look at like a lot of big time actors, they're all from these societies, right? These higher economical societies.
Yeah, I know. That part I found infuriating. And the thing is, for me, it's about the filmmaking. I love making movies.
Yeah, but I think it's about access, though, right? It's about
for sure.
It's about education. It's about accessibility to create narratives. And, the pessimistic part of my brain always says, oh, maybe that's a bit deliberate, like maybe they don't want certain stories told.
Oh, I think so. But it's just kind of
taking
like,
up space,
I just think there's people, you could, like, it's just kind of, it feels a bit like just an expensive gap year for rich kids who maybe aren't great filmmakers. And I don't know if they have much to show for it, but they go to Cannes every year. And I'm like, you could sink 15K in going to Cannes. I didn't stay in the heart of Cannes. I stayed I spent my first few nights in Nice and then the next in Castellamare, which I live in Campbelltown. I'm not scared of commuting. It's really not a big deal, but I'm used to traveling all the time anyway. But like, there were people who were staying much closer. So like, you could sink 15K in like, flights, accommodation, accreditation, to go to Cannes every year, or you could wait 4 years and you could make a 60K film. And that sounds much more interesting to me.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, like the parties, people who go to Cannes for like the party and the glamour, none of that stuff interests me. My favorite moments when I was there, and I had some beautiful moments, like I loved meeting the other filmmakers in my cohort, all really talented. So I was there with, it was 3 Australian films and 2 international films. So we had Heart of the Man, which was David Cook's beautiful boxing film. And he's an Indigenous man from Queensland. And then we had a film called Strange Creatures, which is a road movie. And then there was my film, which is From All Sides, which is a bisexual film. And it's a kind of multicultural migrant experience. And then there was an American film by a team of what I call the LA lesbians, who are the greatest human beings in the world, Under the Influencer. And then there was a beautiful Indian film called Arms of a Man. So I got to meet all the other filmmakers, and like that was beautiful. But
that sounds like a hoot.
It was wonderful. We had the best time. Like that was actually the one party that wasn't lame. The LA lesbians had us over to their house on like the first night they got to Cannes, and we hung out, and I had the best time. My favorite moments were like connecting, making friends, and also, just really random things. Like I had a really great chat with an Uber driver, and like I got invited to dinner when I was dining by myself. There was a 12-year-old French girl who wanted to speak English, and she ended up sitting with her family, and it was really sweet. And my host who put me up in Nice. Yeah, those were my happy moments because I'm a people person. That to me is what's interesting. I make movies because people interest me, culture interests me, not because I'm all about the red carpety poos. Although I will tell you my amazing red carpet story.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll go back to, how I said earlier that getting tickets at Cannes is really, really hard? So, most film festivals, you go online and you book your tickets and you pay your $20 or whatever, and you go to your movie.
Yeah.
In Cannes, you've already paid for your accreditation, so all the movies are actually free.
Yeah.
But you have to basically go through like a Taylor Swift gauntlet to get them.
Okay.
So they get released 48 hours before your session. At 7 a.m. every day. Okay? So basically you need to get up at like 6:30, hope you have a good internet connection, be hitting refresh, right?
Oh, wow.
Yep. And then it ticks over to 7 o'clock. They release the tickets. You've got to... I think that was me.
Was that you?
Yeah. It's too much me. So they release their tickets, and then you've got to dive into like the movie you want to see and the session you want to see, right? And just pray. It's over. So I did that. I wasn't feeling well, as I said, for the first few days. And finally there was, the day that I'm starting to feel a little bit better, I get up at 6:30. There was only one movie I really wanted to see at Cannes, which is the new Sean Baker film called Honora, which was in competition, right? So I get up at 6:30. I knew that it was playing. Its premiere was on Tuesday the 21st, I think. I just went straight to Tuesday the 21st, straight to Honora, clicked, and by some miracle I got a ticket. The whole thing was over in 15 seconds. So that was the one movie I bust my ass to see because I'm such a fan of Sean Baker. I love Tangerine. I love Red Rocket. I love The Florida Project. I think he's the most exciting filmmaker of his generation coming out of America at the moment. And that happened to be the film that won the Palme d'Or.
Yeah, great. Well, it sounds like you had an absolute ball going over there. What an experience. That's so amazing.
It was the most amazing experience. I was actually very emotional when I left because I don't know when I'm coming back. I was here with a purpose. Maybe I'll be here one day with an actual like movie in competition, which is like, and Sean Baker started
Wouldn't surprise me.
Sean Baker started off making $3,000 films.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. And now he's got the Palm d'Or, you know?
Well, that's us being, sort of, air quotations, regional filmmakers, right? There's this massive void where it's not been filled up, and I think we were talking off air before, like, there's so many films to compete with, right? There's so many films out there. And I remember when we were younger, back in the day, there was a market there for B-rated films, and there was a market there for those sort of A-graded films versus the lower budget films, and that sort of is, sort of pushed by the wayside these days.
So here's my opinion on that. So I said this, it's never been easier to make a film, which is great news for filmmakers. Yeah. But because it's never been easier to make a film, there are now a lot of films. There are a lot more films being made, and it's much harder to cut through, which is bad news for filmmakers. Because getting through to that, the big problem with Cannes was, there are too many films, there are too many filmmakers, and there are not enough buyers. That's why, emailing and hustling people saying, hi, I've got this great film, and we think it would be a great fit for your sales agent, and please meet with me while I'm in Cannes and come to my pitch. Yeah. That doesn't work because they're inundated with emails from 50 billion other filmmakers, right? So it's really, really hard to cut through. And it's really sad. Like, when I was growing up, I loved the American Sundance Film. It was supposed to be this festival of discovery. But I hate to say this, but Kevin Smith would not have a career if he was making films today. It's so sad. He cut through because he made a film shot in black and white about his community and his people. Like, New Jersey feels a little bit like Western Sydney, and all these movies are about ordinary people who work in retail or they work in fast food and they're finding love. And, you know, his films are so beautiful. And it makes me so sad to think, like, if he's, he would not have a career today. He has said that himself. So I feel like the more accessible filmmaking has become, the more gatekeeping there now is, just because there's more films being made. Yeah,
but I reckon, though, I really do believe this. So films happen in waves, right? So there's always the flow and ebb and flow of filmmaking. And if you look at if you look in the past, right, if you contrast superhero films now to the past, you're looking at, westerns, right? So westerns were a formula that they used to run, and it was guaranteed money, it was always going to sell, and everything became a western. And then they lost the art of filmmaking because they were just telling this one story, the same story over and over again in different ways, right? And that's what's happened with superhero films. Like, they won't invest into films, and people can't take the risk because they go, we need a guaranteed, money back. But I think at some point, if you beat people to death with superhero films, I go, well, I want to see something with, more narrative to it than that, And I think that there is a market there for those kind of films.
It totally is, but this is the thing. Filmmaking is incredibly risky, and nobody wants to take a risk, and they all want someone else to jump. So sometimes you'll hit up a sales agent and they'll go, oh, well, let us know which major festivals you get into. But equally, a lot of festivals won't even look at your film unless they get it via a sales agent. So it's just a chicken and egg, right? Yeah. Where you're trying to get someone to jump. For me, it was Mardi Gras Film Festival. They jumped. They said, we love this film and we're going to back this and we're going to take it to, Queer Screen. It goes to Cannes, right? But, that's what you need. You need someone to jump and back your film. And once you do, other people jump on board. But I've said this, Robert Altman, every time I get depressed about filmmaking in 2024, I think about one of my heroes who's, Robert Altman was an old white guy from Kansas City, Missouri, and he just he's famous for being this really kindly, lovely director, but producers hated him, right? They hated him because he didn't work the way they wanted him to work. And he put this so beautifully. And this is in the 70s. And I always, for me, it's difficult. I'm a woman in a very male-dominated industry. I'm a person of color in a very white-dominated industry. But Robert Altman was an old white guy, and he was saying this in the bloody 70s. In America, where they have a much more robust and bigger film industry and a much bigger market because there's, 300 million people. He said, they don't know how to market the kinds of films I want to make, and I'm not interested in making the kinds of films they want me to make. That was his criticism of the studio system. And I, even to this day, if you make what they want, this is the best way I've heard it described. They want something that's totally new and fresh that's also been tried and sold in 10 territories, right? Yeah. That's what they want. So if you make the world's most derivative action movie, you'll probably actually find a sales agent and a distributor really easily because they know how to market an action movie. If you make a really derivative horror movie, they know how to market that. If you make a really derivative, by the book rom-com, they know how to market that. But the second you do what Sean Baker calls make a genre fluid movie, which my movie is a genre fluid movie. It's not a straight comedy. It's not a straight drama. It's a sexy movie, but it makes you think about race, which for many people is a big boner kill, right? So, it's a queer film, but it's a bisexual film. It's about open relationships. It's stuff we haven't seen, but equally, I need to get kind of Indians on board with my film, and I was unsure how they were going to react to the sexuality. So, my film, which is a little bit genre fluid, which is why it's exciting and interesting and original, but that's why it's a little bit harder to get someone to back those films because they don't know how to sell them. As soon as it makes them think, they go, no, that's just too hard. I'll go with this other movie. So, I think that's why we need to look at novel ways of getting our films in front of people's eyeballs, and it might not be the traditional kind of route.
You got me thinking. Like I've been having these conversations with people a lot lately about distribution and about, because everyone thinks about, like, you know, pre-production. I've got to write this script.
Yeah.
I've then got to plan this film. I've then got to cast this film. I've got to rehearse this film. I've got to shoot this film. I've got to edit this film. I've got to color this film. I've got to do the sound design on this film. And then they go, oh shit, now I've got to distribute this film. Like the distribution is the least considered part of filmmaking.
And the thing is, our system is designed under, once you get a distributor, film financing becomes very straightforward. Even in Australia, Screen Australia generally will not even want to talk to you unless you have a distributor. But you can't, there's no distributor pound, right? There's a handful of distributors in Australia. Most of them want to distribute something with Cate Blanchett in it because they know that people will go and watch Cate Blanchett. So if you're like me, I don't want to make films about Cate Blanchett. I want to make films about my community. And there's no brown Cate Blanchett because racism, whole other conversation. But if you want to do something a little bit different or make films about a community that's been underrepresented and you're using new actors, if you're taking a risk in any kind of way, it just gets really hard. And they won't talk to you. Most of the distributors in this country won't talk. They've got a full slate and they don't really want to talk to emerging. There's a few. Obviously, my distributor, Dove Cornets, has done a wonderful job championing a lot of Western Sydney films. Like he released Streets of Colour last year. And the other one is Bonsai. And they will talk to emerging filmmakers. They did Christmas. But
I also did one I went to see recently. I think it was a blind surfing film.
Yes, that's right. That's that's Brick Studios. That's Bonsai as well. So that's the conundrum that kind of low budget indie filmmakers are in Australia. So you've got two options. You've either got to unlock financing in kind of a novel way. How do you get money? And this is the thing. I really want to make this point. So the old guard was, yes, you make your film, you color it, you do all the things you say. And if it's good enough, it will find a market, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of still true, but I also think that's not always the case. So I heard a story, the LA Lesbians were telling me an amazing story about their friend who got into like a big American film festival. I think it was Sundance or South by Southwest. It was one of the really big ones. Yeah. And not only that, he won the audience prize, right? And then the offer he got from a distributor was like $10,000 and he told them to piss off. And he instead invested in his own, he did the marketing himself. Like the reason you need a distributor is because they supposedly take on the burden of getting your films in front of people. Like they market it for you and they do a campaign or whatever. And he took that into his own hands and he made 6-figure returns. Do you know? Like maybe that's...
Oh, look, that's why I think about it all the time. Like even from the Made in the West perspective, right? So there's many elements that brought Made in the West together. And some of them, the elements that came from me came from my experience of being in a performing band. And how the artist is the most screwed over in a performance, right? They're the most screwed over.
I'm clicking my fingers, and there's so many parallels with music. You are so right.
And as the artist, you get screwed over. It doesn't matter what direction you go. All the doors are guarded, and you don't have any of the keys. And it's really hard to break through. It's really hard just to find a pecking order because it's such a. It's not thriving. It's famine. So everyone's fighting for very small plots, right?
Oh, yeah, scarcity mentality.
Yeah, it's very scarce, right? And there's a scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of like interviewing a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
And one of them I interviewed, I go, so they were talking about the problems of trying to get signed by Sony or trying to get signed by Village or trying to get signed by Virgin. Trying to get signed by a big company so you can get a record deal, right?
Yeah, it's so similar. Yes. That's
the way that you'd want to do it, right? And then this guy, he got doors slammed in his face and he goes, well, what I did was I just created my own distribution network.
Yeah.
I started selling my own CDs. This is back when it was CDs, though.
No.
He'd sell his own CDs and then he would sign other bands to join his label. And all of a sudden, now he is running a distribution network and plays in a band on the side.
Yeah.
So it started out trying to playing in a band, trying to make a movie, whatever it is. But then you realise that the true void is to make that market. And going into the film industry in Sydney, I realised there's a massive void. There's this massive void. No one's watching these Western Sydney films, and there's a potential there.
There's a massive potential, and that's the thing. The people who are the handful of people that are tasked with distributing films. The gatekeepers do not live in this community. They don't know how to market stuff to our audiences, so they panic and they don't know how to do it.
Well,
I guarantee a lot of the distributors who were just passed on my film or just didn't even pass. They didn't even answer phone calls. They were just rude.
Yeah.
And I had Here Out West to my name, by the way. They're always go away and make a little movie or have a little credit on a big movie, which was kind of Here Out West, and then we'll talk. But the reality is they always, just like the musicians you were interviewing, they always pull the rug underneath you, right? So you play their silly game. So I'm friends with a woman who's incredibly talented, and she not only made an amazing film, she made a short film and it did the things I was told I had to do to be taken seriously. It went to big festivals. It went to Berlin. It went to Sundance. It won awards, and she still couldn't get a film up. Do you know there was always some other reason why they couldn't give it to her? And this is just what I noticed as well. So that thing you said about people being screwed, because this is the thing, right? Say Netflix, say some big distribution company wants to take your film, great, but they have all the power. If they then turn around and say, well, it's $10K and you like it or lump it, I'm not saying Netflix would, I don't know I'm sure it's more than $10,000, but if they're a big guy, if it's David and Goliath, they have all the power and they can just go, well, it's eyeballs, it's be international, take it or leave it, we keep all the money. Equally, if it's a little player, they might take on your film, but they literally don't have the resources to market it because they're one person in an office type thing.
Yeah.
So either way, the filmmaker gets screwed. Yeah. And you know what? That should make me depressed, but I actually found it really comforting. I'm like, nope, we're all in the same boat.
That's right. We're all in the same boat, right? And that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been feeling, really. The whole idea with Made in the West is to create a network in order to create an audience. And then that's happened, right? And then I think, well, how do I scale that? So
how do we scale that? How do we make those people want to watch Western Sydney films? And how do we talk to them?
Yeah, and I've actually been talking to a whole bunch of filmmakers lately about this, and I think I may be onto something. So I'm not going to say it on air actually, because it's a pretty good idea.
It's all secret squirrel, but I think it's really interesting because we were saying this, a lot of us who have come of age through Made in the West. And yeah, Made in the West was there to address the fact that there was not
a way. Space. There
was nothing for Western Sydney filmmakers to get their work seen and taken seriously. And I feel like a lot of us who kind of came of age, I started out in 2017 at Made in the West. That's when Wild Dancers played. I'm now making my first feature. Matt Vella, obviously, same time as me.
Same deal, yeah.
And he's now producing The Undesirables, which is amazing. Do you know, so a bunch of us have now graduated into making feature films. And we're kind of having this conversation of who do we get to take our film to the big wide world and how do we get eyeballs on our film? And yeah, maybe it's some kind of cooperative, where we I don't know, there's different models, and I really want to encourage artists to think about the ecosystem they're working in, because I think the old thing is changing. And I will just say this, I have come back from Cannes. Ross has known me a long time. I'm a very anxious person. I get stressed very easily. I'm super calm because I know there's an audience for my movie. It might be a roundabout way to get to them, but I'm very confident it will find its people.
Serious as a heart attack. Anyone worth their salt that watches this film, you definitely have a future in getting and landing a big job. What you've done with this film is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I'm
really
very proud of it.
It's well written, it's well presented, it's well shot, it's well edited. It's got great sound design. It fires on a whole bunch of cylinders. Some of them are really sexy and interesting. Some of them are awkward and challenging.
Well, I mean...
But that's what you wanted in a film, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to kind of, you should just try and make a film that you would want to go see. And I just say that to every filmmaker. I say, your compass is you. Your true north is you. The problem with this industry, and this is the thing, right, as well. I deal with rejection better if, number one, if you actually watched my film or watched my trailer, which I was sending to people. Yeah, people thought I was ridiculous self-funding, which was most of it. I did a crowdfunder.
Everyone says that.
Everyone says you're
always
ridiculous.
Says that.
Yeah, but it's what's the alternative? Because the alternative in Australia, so the way you're meant to make a movie in this country is, you get your distributor, you get your sales agent, and then you can go to a lender because you'll get the producer's offset, right? And then you can go to Screen Australia. But that first step is absolutely out of bounds for almost anybody who doesn't come from wealth and lives in Bondi.
That's what I mean. That's where the true accessibility comes down to, right? Technologically, we've got access.
Yeah,
but we don't have network access.
We don't have. So the term for that is I think it's social capital.
Yeah,
we don't have social capital. I don't have social capital. Do you know? I have other forms of privilege, but I do not have social capital.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's what Made in the West is about, right? So it's about creating. It's about creating those spaces and championing storytellers, right? So I just see an angle there to get these. Like, there's so many films out there. Like, how many films are out there, even on a global scale? How many films are out there that don't see an audience?
Well, yeah, because it's easy to make a film, and I just think
Compared to marketing it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, there just needs to be a novel solution. I tell everybody, and I was there in Cannes telling everybody that the Western Sydney filmmaking community was just really exciting and really supportive and also just like a lot of fun. And I think it's like the true bohemia of this city is amongst the filmmakers who live in the West, who do this, who hang out on a Friday night and talk shop and talk about movies and shoot each other's films on weekends and hang out and, go to the festival every year. And I will say, Man in the West is always the best night of the year. It's always the most fun.
Yeah, look, someone described Made in the West to me as it's Christmas for filmmakers in Western Sydney.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You see like all your favourite people and you see all the movies and, it's such a great night out.
And seeing what comes out, like, we're always surprised, right? Like, the content that's coming out is just off its head.
Yeah,
it's of an
I love
international.
it. It's a great night.
It's all of an international standard.
Yeah.
And, like, it's great to get praises about it because, we just chuck the party that we want to go to.
You chuck the party you want to go to, and that's what a film is as well. It's like you're making the movie that, I was just like tired of most of the low budget kind of indie movies I was seeing was about like young people failing to launch, and that's not my life. I'm middle aged. I have 2 children. I live in the burbs. That's my life.
Yeah.
And I just sort of thought no one had made a movie like this, so it had to. I tell this to everybody: make the film only you can make.
Yeah,
because you're gonna be living with it for a few years. I will say that. It's
it's a big chunk of your life.
It's a big chunk of your life, and you gotta spend a lot of time making a movie.
Yeah, but it's all worth it, right?
Oh, for sure! I have the best life. I love my film. I have the best life. I really do.
Yeah, I love participating in making movies. Like whether I'm, directing them, shooting them, acting in them. Don't care as long as I'm participating.
Film should, and that's the thing. It should be fun. It's a thing you do with people.
Yeah. Oh, it's challenging. It's bloody hard. Like, it takes it takes a long while to acquire filmmaking skills. It really does. It's a slow burn. You'll find advances in learning. You'll reach a plateau and you think, oh, I'm really awesome at doing this, and then you'll be humbled by an experience. You're like, I actually got more to learn. And then you'll go to learn more, and then you'll get to another plateau.
For sure.
You go through these stages as a storyteller, and the way that you look at the world changes. You find voice. I think it's one of the most exciting things about being a storyteller for me is finding my voice and finding how I like to write and how I like to direct and how I like to act.
Absolutely.
And that's all part of the journey as an artist. And there's so many of us. There's so many people in Western Sydney and Western Melbourne, places like this around the country, are all doing the same thing, right? And I just go, there's a special few that get to do it all the time, right? And I just think there's a change on the horizon, Bina.
Oh, I feel that as well. Like I said, that's why I've come back really relaxed. I'm like, the kinds of problems I face are actually faced by, like I complain about how, in Australia, we don't kind of have the sort of filmmaking, like in America, it's such a mature industry. Yeah. You can get an independent film up in America. You can find private investment in a way that you cannot really do in Australia. All Australians want to do is renovate houses. They want to buy and sell houses. That's it.
Yeah, well, America is a different society in that way, in that respect that they champion their heroes, right? So if you're a musician, if you're a filmmaker. Yeah. Australia is different culture. It's a tall poppy syndrome.
That is absolutely.
Australia loves an underdog, right? Yeah. If you're not the underdog, it's tall poppy, right? So you can't win. So the only real way to do that is to host events, start making movies that change minds, and to change those minds, to champion our true hero storytellers, right? And they're out there. They're bloody out there, man. And there's people that work really hard. Most of us have multiple vocations, where we're working around the clock. Like most days, I do 10 hours. Doing 10 hours days, 6 days a week, working on multiple fronts in order to bolster and build and make a business. And I'm not whinging it from that point of view, but what I'm saying is that there is a part of me that's excited about it because it's a pioneering space.
I think so.
It's not an established space. It's totally
it's novel. Yeah,
it's really pioneering, trailblazing stuff, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. It's terrifying because you're running into the dark and you've got no friends. But then you realise you do have friends.
We do have friends. You do,
and they're all around you.
If you are a filmmaker in Western Sydney, you have friends. I will say that.
Totally, man.
It can be a lonely profession, but I think I feel very loved and very supported by this community. And I think it was really interesting what you say about tall poppy syndrome because that is 100% a thing. It's very irritating. Even just the vibe, like when I was in Cannes, everyone respected that I was a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Everyone I spoke to, like my host that I spoke to, my Uber drivers, they were all really curious and they thought it was super cool that I was a filmmaker. At my daughter's daycare, people are like, "Oh, Bina, where have you been?" And I was like, "Oh, I've been away for work." And if they pushed, I'd be like, "Oh, I've been in France for work." But I'm not going to say I've been at Cannes because they think I'm a wanker. And that's on steroids in Western Sydney.
Yeah,
Having
totally.
tickets on yourself, that's not allowed.
That's right. You can't do it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not socially acceptable.
It's absolutely not socially acceptable
So, yeah,
to be an
no.
artist and to be proud of that.
Yeah, you got to have an underdog story, but you can't tell your own underdog story. You have to have someone else tell your underdog story.
It's so true.
There you go. 'Cause if you tell your own underdog story, then you're not the
Then
underdog.
you're a wanker.
Then you're a wanker.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have sayings like if you're out like doing a karaoke or something, someone in the audience will say to someone that's singing, like, "Don't quit your day job," right? And it's that kind of attitude, "Don't quit your day job" sort of attitude. And you just we got to just be more forgiving for content. And I guess as well, as far as being forgiving for content, like we're just surrounded by it so much. It's so readily available. And anyone that's watching a story can easily judge a story and go, well, that doesn't fit the narrative that I'm used to receiving as well. So there's this kind of this programming of what expectation is and when you're watching content. Some people, like, they'll listen to the same bands over and over and over again, but never explore a new band. But some music diehards do that. They go through and they watch local bands and they watch medium sort of level bands, and they go to those big arena shows for the bands that they always wanted to see when they were a kid, right?
Yeah.
But not everyone does that.
I have read that the music you listen to when you're 14 is pretty much what you listen to for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
It's kind of true.
and I still watch the same movies over and over again.
What's your go-to, like?
Oh shit, that's a big question.
What's your, like, I've had a shit day, I need like a movie that's just gonna make
a
me feel
shit day
good.
cheer up film.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Yeah. Okay.
Indiana Jones.
Okay.
But if I'm in because I love to quote films. I love a bit of a photographic, autographic memory, and I like to quote films a lot, especially bad guy monologues. So when I'm doing that when I'm feeling like that, like things like Fight Club, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I love that.
Even out of Tarantino's ones, that he doesn't like. He didn't like Death Proof, but I fucking love Death Proof.
It's very you, actually. I know why. I can see why you like that.
Yeah, I like all the gritty aspects of it. But again, though, like if you look at those films, I like a lot of Ozploitation films as well. Love Mad Max. Love Stone. If you've ever seen Stone, if anyone that's out there, it's like this quintessential Ozploitation films. I've enjoyed Australian cinema to an extent, but but like most of us, we're all Americanized, right? We're all Americanized in these American films.
We get a lot of American content. You want to know my go-to?
And then my go-tos.
Do you want to know my go-to?
What's your go-to?
Okay, this might surprise you.
Okay.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World's a great go-to.
Fucking love Wayne's World.
I can quote a lot of that.
I can quote a lot of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
So, do you reckon? I reckon. Okay, so here's my theory. There's a lot of metalheads in Campbelltown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like Aurora, Illinois is like Campbelltown.
Dude, I'm wearing a hat on my own show talking about, it's called the Pagey Train. Pagey Train. Excellent. It's totally influenced by Wayne's World, man. And I've played in bands. I've got a drum kit in my fucking lounge room, man.
Wayne's World fantasy.
Yeah, I'm literally living the Wayne's World fantasy,
Yeah, it's like okay. Wayne lived with his parents. You did not live with your parents.
Did for a long time, though. Actually, not until I was 17. I can't tell. That's a lie. I moved out pretty quick.
Yeah, I can tell that about you. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. Wayne's World is my go-to movie, but I always feel like it's Aurora, Illinois. The idea is like that they're metalheads who live on they don't live in the cool part of Chicago. They live on the outskirts and they drive everywhere. And I'm just like, I think this movie is very similar to Campbelltown.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, look, man, I emulate it, man. I love Wayne's World. And as well, like, you get enough celebrityship to get cut into lines at certain pubs, and then they walk up at the gas works. They're like, yeah, and then they run into Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Meatloaf lets them in, and the shitty Beatles, what are they like?
They suck. Yes.
Fucking love that movie.
I love.
I don't mind Wayne's World 2 either, actually. I didn't mind the second one.
Well, so the thing about Wayne's World 2, I actually do like Wayne's World 2 as well. It's good just for the YMCA scene.
Yeah, and Christopher Walken.
But what I love about Wayne's World, the first one, is do you know it was directed by a woman?
It was, yeah. And it was it's the shortest film ever shot.
Really?
Yeah, 17 days it was done in. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's the short. Yeah, it's So for the length of for a feature length film, it's
the ratio.
Yeah, the ratio. It's the shortest film ever shot. 17 days.
Okay. can I rival that? Because I shot an 118-minute film in 20 days.
There you go.
I mean, Wayne's World is what, 93 minutes long?
Yeah. Well,
woman director, man, we're efficient. Like,
yeah, she was from the she was doing rock documentaries.
She was from the rock. So this is the thing about her, and also, so the thing that's painful, I think the reason why Wayne's World is as good as it is because I actually think it has a bit of a woman's touch. You know, it could have been really blokey because it's about dudes who are into metal, but it kind of like the way like Cassandra's a really sympathetic character, like just the way it's
think about what that film did for Queen.
Exactly.
Like Queen is massive, right? Queen is already massive.
My first introduction to Queen was Wayne's World.
But yeah, that's right. So they took an operatic, metal song and made it popular again in a new light. You know.
Yeah, but
everyone headbangs to that song.
You know that scene. You know that Penelope Spheris and Mike Myers fell out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's why she didn't direct the sequel.
Well, apparently Mike Myers is a real prick. So.
I mean, I didn't say it.
Yeah, that's what they say because they were doing he was doing all the Austin Power films, and I think the Guru is the one that they broke everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting though, because like the idea for me,
where the crew's like, never again.
Yeah.
When the crew goes, I don't care how much money you've got, I fucking hate you.
Yeah, I know, but it makes me sad because as a director, the idea of like your actors like not like loving you is actually really painful because this is a thing you do with them.
Different kinds of leaders, right? So you got manipulators and you got leaders, right? So manipulators won't care about how their team gets there, but a leader does. So if you lose the reins of being a leader, you become a manipulator.
I think a good director should bring people with them on the journey and make your actors feel safe. Yeah, that's
safe. But some people, ego and drive and riding and short amounts of sleep for 20 years at a time while you got everyone pestering you with their new film fucking idea. You might just turn into a really narky person and just fucking hate everyone.
If I ever do that, then I think I'd need to change professions. I think to be a filmmaker, it is, like I say, it's something you do with people.
Yeah, it's all perspective, But, but it's like I heard one person say it. It was in a film called Argo. You ever see Argo?
Yeah. I saw it in cinemas. I think I was living. Where was I living when it came out? When did it come out? 2012.
Yeah, because that's a mad story, right? It's a story about the CIA faking a movie in Islam to get some people out of Iran. Out of Iran.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his film. It was sort of like they were digressing in a scene, talking about the film industry and. He goes, so you had 2 marriages, and he goes, I never saw me kids, and my marriage broke down. And he goes, but you're in the film industry, you got a lot of money, right? He goes, well, yeah, but it's like coal mining, you take it home with you.
Yeah.
So like you sort of understand, like it's a production job, it's a production high stress job working in film, especially when the money's ticking during production, the scrutiny during editing. The scrutiny during and the fear of distributing your film, like all of it is high stress.
I would argue that being a producer for a low budget feature film is probably one of the hardest jobs you can have. It's probably one of the most stressful. Yeah,
you got to deal with a lot of problems. But for me, like sometimes you get sad about such things, but there's other times where, especially with doing executive producing, and you solve really high technical problems, and you're like, fuck yeah, man! No one else that we know could have solved that. And sometimes it's always good to be, it's good to be the little cog and the big cog, you know what I mean? Like in films,
I think that's very true. And I think you should mix it up. I think if you like, for me, writing, directing, maybe I will help out on someone else's film next. And I do want to make the point that Man in the West helped out on From All Sides. They took over a really critical kind of producing aspect when I was really running out of steam and I needed to get over the finish line in post. And they came on and they steered it amazingly.
Yeah, Man in the West Creative. We're producing specialists and we know specialists. So we can fix just about any problem that you've got with a film, or we can generate any film that you need done, essentially.
Yeah, there's the plug, Man in the West Creative. They're your people.
Yeah, no, we fucking get it done, man. Like we are. The computer died. The diversity of what we do is crazy, Bina.
Oh, I am well aware. I'm always very impressed.
It's from from EPing to directing to doing live performance. Shooting live performance, directing live performance, directing films. It's just and doing workshop. We're doing workshops now.
I think we say this, I work at PYT Fairfield, which is also the most amazing job. So I work for a theatre company in Western Sydney, and I absolutely love what I do. But we always joke that in Western Sydney, you just have to do all the things because you have to wear so many hats because we're all poor and we don't get properly funded. So we just have to do amazing stuff with no money.
So many different gigs, so many different types of gigs, whether it's a vision switching gig or a videography gig or an editing gig or, and then it's producing gigs. So fixing, people problems or fixing economic problems, structural problems, articulating people's dreams, it just goes on and on. But sometimes you get a bit lost in all of it, you know. And
Look, I think it's a good thing. I think that this idea, of course, it's good. You know, you were saying earlier, like as you get older, you get better at filmmaking, directing for sure, writing for sure. I look back at stuff I wrote even for Here Out West, and I read it and I go, you know what, I have grown so much as a writer. Writing is something you get better at the more you do it.
Yeah, it's exposure time.
Directing is something you get better at the more you're doing. But I'm not a snob. I don't think you're any less of an artist if you have to hustle and do other gigs, because the only people that can be artists full time, there's maybe a handful in Australia, and most of them come from privilege. So, you know, I don't think it's never healthy. I meet filmmakers and they're like, oh, but I've got a day job. And I'm like, so do most people.
Most people.
So do most people. And like, a lot of actors do jobs that they don't really care about.
Even my day job is very much producing. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
for sure. I'm a producer in my day job too. But I feel like, you know, we shouldn't have this kind of... we shouldn't have this snobbery around people that have other jobs, because it's usually an indicator of the fact that they just don't come from intense wealth. And I will also say the most truly bohemian city in the world. And I have traveled a lot. You know, I've just been to Cannes, obviously, but it was not my first time in France. I lived in London for 2 years. I went to France a lot. I went to Spain. I've spent a lot of time in Germany. I've spent a lot of time in the States. Obviously, my dad was Indian, so I spent a lot of time in India. So I've traveled a lot. But in my opinion, the most truly bohemian city in the world is New Orleans.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
But everyone in New Orleans is like you. They work like... They're all an artist. They're all artists. And they all hustle. They're in like 5 bands. And they wait tables and they, you know...
Yeah, one time I was running, a small production company, a festival, a band, and a studio, and a rehearsal studio, at one point. And running a TV station.
Where do you get your energy from, Ross?
I don't know. I just keep going. I run out. I do run out.
Because my first AD was like that. Like, he would do an intense 10-hour, my amazing first AD. So shout out to Michael Giglio.
I have big holidays.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have big holidays.
Well, you know, my shout out is to Michael Giglio, my amazing first AD. He was from Western Sydney, hood as fuck, grew up in St. John's Park. And he was amazing on my film. And he would do an intense 10-hour day, like, with my crew, solving problems, putting out fires, keeping us to time. And then he'd, like, go to band practice.
Yeah.
Right? He'd like go to band practice.
Usually goes for about 4 hours.
Play
as well.
a gig, and I'm just like, where do you get your energy from? And his words were libido and caffeine, which would actually make a good band name.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I can go with that. I remember one of the busiest times I got married. Right, so I got married, released an EP, and did Made in the West in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I like a high speed pursuit.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
You're an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, I don't mind it. So that's where the juice is for me, and doing all kinds of gigs. They're great. I love being a hired gun. I love it. People go, I need anything from a voiceover to doing Foley to doing an edit to doing shoot, whatever you want. If I can't do it, I'll find someone that can. And I love that. I absolutely love doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like being a hired gun. I write a lot for money. Like I do a lot of writing gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a good feeling being wanted for your creative works, man. It certainly is. There's massive difference between earning wage and earning off your own skill set. You know, it's a massive difference.
Well, I will finish off by saying I did not get a job in the arts till I was 34.
Yeah, wow.
So I want everyone to ponder that.
I was 31, I think.
Yeah.
I was 31 when I got a job in the arts.
Yeah.
I was an ingest operator for a TV station. That was my first gig.
Wow.
Yeah. Then I shot a music video. Then I shot a TV show. And then I was in, baby.
And it's been strength to strength ever since.
Ever since, yeah, just working hard. But hey, look, speaking of working hard, from all sides, it's not out there yet for
but
the
it will
general
be,
public.
and I think you know, I'm very confident about this film after Cannes. I will just say that.
Well,
a lot of interest yet.
Well, allow me to say, I think this movie will do very well. I think it will find an audience, and I think you've done an absolutely fabulous job.
Thank you, Ross. I couldn't have done it without you. I really just want to say that. Man in the West really played an incredible role. Number one, just, you know, nurturing my talent, connecting me with incredible people, creating an amazing filmmaking scene, and also in that really practical way coming in to help me towards the end. And it's amazing to share with you today.
We're people.
You are people.
We're people. All right, and also thank you for being on the show. It's been a great chat.
It's been amazing. Thank you for having me.
And guys, you've been watching the Pagey Train. That's right, the Pagey Train. You can go and check us out on Spotify. That's right, video on Spotify, or you can go over to YouTube. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Or for you avid listeners out there, you can watch us on, listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, basically anywhere you can find podcasts. You've been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time. That's it. All done. Don't cut it. Don't cut it yet. Don't cut it yet. They always go for the quick bite. Hey, thanks for being the producer today, Luke. It's been mad.
Thank you, Luke. It's been really fun.
Now you can cut it. There we go.
Okay, cool.